What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla SPY in the overall market. I'm also going to break down some new structures that are developing. Let me just mention that I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. Anyways, Tesla's doing a great job at holding up so far. I just want to mention that as long as we're above 212, we're going to be completely fine. I think we're doing a good job above that. And our next support will be at 210. So far, it has a nice accumulation structure, and this is looking more bullish. So I'm really liking the setup on Tesla. I think there's more upside potential for next week as well if we close around here. As long as there's no bad news, Tesla's still doing a great job at holding up. But the question is, what's going to happen from here, in my personal opinion? That's why I want to break down more details. So just know that going into next week, there's not really much data coming out for Monday, especially in the morning. So you don't really have to worry if you're holding anything overnight. It depends more on the news that comes out over the weekend. As long as there's no bad news, we're going to be completely fine. And then as far as Tesla goes, I want to mention that the Model 3 is being tested with the cheaper interior. It's starting at about $35,000 in total. And then that's going to be available only in Mexico. So I just wanted to call it out for the time being. I went over this earlier, but I just want to say that this is what I'm seeing mainly making headlines. I'm not seeing anything else that's too significant for Tesla, at least for now, that I haven't really gone over already. So, what's happening with the share price? We're doing a great job for this accumulation. As long as we close above, I would say 210.8 or 200 EMA, we're going to favor more upside for next week, and the trend remains bullish. We do have that tough resistance at 220, but these imbalances may act as a magnet, and Tesla may attempt to try to bounce things to that, taking us all the way up into the 230s. So we look more bullish to me. It looks like the trend is trying to shift. And then on top of this, we have a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure as well that's been developing. So we remain bullish. The chart's looking more bullish. We're doing a great job at trying to hold up. And I think that this is going to try to push a little bit more next week, so long as there's no major bad news. So for now, the market's very choppy right now. Obviously, it's a Friday. There's lots of puts expiring. So market makers are just chopping things around. Tesla's stuck within a range between all day. It's been stuck between this 213 area to about 220. Not really doing much. So I think we're just going to remain range bound for now, but just know the chart still remains bullish. So long as there's no new bad news over the weekend, we favor upside. For SPY, it's the same thing. We're testing resistance around 555. I called out how this would likely push higher. We dipped a bit only to push higher. And now we're testing resistance, kind of shuffling a bit. So we'll see if it could break this or not. It might not break 555. We'll have to see. It's a tough area. If we break that, we could be pushing for 556.8 and then followed by, these new highs. But simultaneously be careful because you could also argue that we might be forming kind of like an inverse head and shoulders. So we're just at resistance and we have to wait and see what the reaction is. And I would say the best thing to do is kind of be patient, wait, excuse me, wait and see what this ends up doing. And we'll see if we form an inverse head and shoulders or not. But like I said, there's no guarantee this retraces. We're just holding up very nicely. So the best thing I could really say is just wait and see. We just have to wait and see how it goes. For ES, we're looking nice right now. We have this resistance approaching around 5,600, and we have an inverse head and shoulders as well. So we'll see if we form a right shoulder or not. Sometimes we don't even form the right shoulder. We just start blasting off. If we break the high here, our next target is to be all the way up towards 56.25. The chart remains bullish, but watch resistance. We could get close to about 5,600. We'll see if we break that or not. I'm going to be very patient. For SPX, it's looking quite nice. We're approaching resistance around 55.60. We'll have to see if this rejects or not. We still have these gaps above to fill, so we're doing a good job so far at attempting to do so. But if we end up losing that 5,500 area, we still have this big gap to fill as well down below. We actually have two of them. So we'll see if we get a rejection off this resistance or not. But nonetheless, the chart remains bullish. The bulls still have a much larger edge. For Nvidia, it's the same thing. We're at resistance around 125. We dipped a little bit only to get bought back up. We'll be watching to see if we break this. If we do break this, we have that gap to fill up to 126, and eventually our next target is going to be 128. And if we reject and don't hold above 125, we'll be looking for a test of about 121. The chart remains bullish. There's a good chance this is going to try to push higher, but we'll have to see how we end up reacting to 125. So that's going to be very important. Bitcoin is trying to rebound. We got to try to hold above 59,300. We'll see if that holds. If we hold this, yes, it could continue to pump. I think 60,000 is going to be our first resistance. If this breaks, our next target is going to be around 60,600. So I see potential for this to go higher. Bitcoin is still holding up very well. For others out there, such as NQ is at resistance. It's the same thing as SPY. We're literally at resistance right now, and we're just waiting to see what the big move is going to be. Do we reject or do we break through? So that's the same thing as SPY. Same thing with the QQQ. 475 is our resistance. Will we break this and start rallying to 480, or will we get a big rejection, move back down towards the 470 area? This may take some time to develop, so just be patient. That's the best thing I could really tell you. Apple's doing the same thing. It's actually trying to break past resistance. It's still very close to 226. It's still close to the resistance. Hasn't officially gone a clean break yet. If we continue to hold above 226, though, we will favor even more upside for like 228. So we look bullish on Apple. So this is showing more strength compared to others out there. We're trying to break resistance. So it's looking pretty good. This would favor upside for next week. If it holds for Supermicro, we're going to be looking at 640 to see if we can break that or not. And our support's at 603. We've been stuck within that range all day, but I think that there is potential for us to try to break out higher if we hold above at least 603. Rivian looks kind of weak, technically speaking. I'm seeing a bearish wedge. I called this out in my earlier videos, right? This wedge. This may lead to more downside into the 12s, so it looks bearish to me. For the IWM, the Russell is doing a good job at uptrending. We're holding up very nicely. As long as we're above 212, I do favor a move back up towards 215 later, then eventually the gap fill for almost 217. But look at support at 209 as well. I think we could continue to uptrend. For Coinbase is trying to uptrend as well. Look at 203 as our supports. As long as we hold above that, we're going to be looking for a push for 210. And then if we end up losing this 203 area, we're going to dip, but this is favoring upside in my opinion. Amazon looks decent. As long as we're above 177, we could try to get close to about 180 next week. But if we don't hold that, we're going back down to 175. So it's trying to hold. It's barely holding right now. We'll have to see if Amazon could hold 177. Meta hit resistance around this 540 area. Has been struggling since. We're looking at support about 525 and resistance at 530. It's been stuck within that range. We'll have to see which way it breaks to determine the bigger move. So if we get back above at least 530, we could push back up to 534. And if we end up losing 525, we start dipping lower. Just wait and see. This is kind of like a wait and see market right now. We just have to give the market time. Microsoft looks a little weaker to me. I could be looking for a dip towards 415. And lastly, for Google, I just want to mention that Google is just range bound. We're looking at 165 as resistance and support around 160. So just give it some time. Anyways, that is pretty much it for my video. The market's at resistance. We're going to be watching to see if SPY rejects off 555 or not, if we could hold above it. If we don't do so, make sure you watch. We're shuffling around 544 as well. If that does break, if we end up losing 544, I'll be looking at 553.5 followed by 552. So watch those levels. We're just very, very flat right now, just shopping around because of the options chain. So look for manipulation, especially during the last 10 minutes of the day, and we'll see how things go. Anyways, that's it for my video. Tesla is doing a good job at holding up. It looks bullish from a technical standpoint on the daily and the 4 hour. So it has potential for next week as long as we hold support. So it's looking good. It may just continue to shovel for the rest of the day, but there is upside potential going into next week. Thank you for listening. Peace out.